The Galactic Council chamber was a place of serene order, where the most advanced minds of dozens of species gathered to chart the galaxy's future. The room was vast, filled with high-vaulted ceilings and walls adorned with ancient, shifting symbols that told the story of the galaxy's greatest achievements. It was rare for discussion to veer toward Earth, a backwater planet on the galactic rim with an isolated, technologically stunted society. Its people clung to solid projectiles and steel missiles long after energy weapons had revolutionized warfare. Earth wasn't deemed a threat, just a curiosity. To the Council, the very idea that humans still fought wars with projectiles and close-range tactics was laughable. But today was different. The Grand Hall held an unusual tension as a thin, robed Zyrexian scientist strode to the center, his elongated, clawed hands grasping a holopad. His pale blue skin shimmered in the light, and his narrow, slitted eyes scanned the room as if expecting interruptions. Commander Talrek, one of the Council's most esteemed military strategists, sat among the assembly, his gaze betraying a slight hint of disdainful amusement. "Esteemed counselors," the Zyrexian began, his tone even but laced with subtle exasperation, "our most recent intelligence has brought to our attention unusual activity originating from the human sector. They appear to be expanding their influence, engaging in minor skirmishes with several border species." Commander Talrek snorted, his deep-set eyes narrowing as he leaned forward. "The humans? Their planetary defenses are relics, and their starships, primitive, to put it mildly. They still use steel-based ammunition, for the Council's sake. A single cruiser from any one of us could wipe out their entire fleet." Several Council members chuckled, exchanging knowing glances, some leaning back in their seats with faint smiles. The notion of a technologically backward species like humanity posing a threat seemed absurd. "Yes," continued the Zyrexian, undeterred but slightly perturbed by the Council's casual mockery. "Their technology is indeed crude. However, effective. They recently fought off one of our scouting parties and successfully destroyed a Zyrexian scout ship." The laughter died down, replaced by murmurs of surprise. Commander Talrek's face hardened, his amusement disappearing in an instant. "Explain yourself," he demanded. With a flick of his clawed fingers, the Zyrexian activated his holopad, projecting a holographic display of footage from the recent skirmish. Blurry, disjointed images filled the air above the Council, showing the human ships unleashing volleys of projectiles and missiles. Though lacking the elegance of energy weapons, these crude armaments shredded through Zyrexian energy shields. The final image was of a human soldier, a towering figure in dark, battered armor, wielding a projectile rifle. His shots punched through Zyrexian shields, the bullets tearing into advanced armor with devastating efficiency. Humans, despite their primitive weapons, have developed specialized ammunition capable of penetrating our energy defenses, the Zyrexian explained. This particular unit used solid projectile rounds that bypassed our shield's frequency modulation. Talrek's jaw clenched as he watched the footage. His eyes narrowed, and he stood slowly. "Then we'll send a fleet. A few skirmishes don't make them formidable. Let's teach them what real weaponry looks like." Several light years away, in the dark reaches of the Neuralin expanse, the Battle of Ankara was about to begin. On board the human cruiser Iron Resolve, Captain James Callahan stood on the bridge, watching the stars shift as his vessel approached the target zone. The Iron Resolve was not a technological marvel by galactic standards, its hull bore scars from previous conflicts, its systems were patched and repurposed, and its weaponry was an eclectic mix of energy-based cannons and explosive-tipped missiles. But what set it apart was its crew, veterans, every last one of them, who had fought, bled, and survived. Beside him, Lieutenant Marco Reyes scanned the instrument panel, his face illuminated by the dim glow of the screens. "Sensors indicate incoming enemy ships, sir." Zyrexian signature detected. "Just as we expected," Callahan murmured, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "They think we're easy prey. But let's make sure they remember us." Reyes grinned, his fingers dancing across the controls as he prepared the weapons systems. "I have a feeling they're going to regret underestimating us, sir." Despite the modest size of the human fleet, Callahan knew they had one distinct advantage over the Zyrexians: adaptability. The Zyrexians relied on rigid strategies, standardized weaponry, and predictable formations. Humans, however, thrived on unpredictability, adapting in real time, compensating for their inferior technology with tactical ingenuity and sheer determination. "Captain, incoming message from the Zyrexians," a communications officer called out, her voice tense. Commander Talrek himself is on the line. Callahan straightened, signaling for the officer to put it through. The screen flickered, and the image of Talrek appeared, his face twisted in a mix of disdain and amusement. "Captain Callahan, I presume." Talrek sneered, barely able to hide his scorn. "I don't believe we've had the pleasure." "It must be strange, commanding a ship that could be dismantled by a single strike from ours." "Outdated, maybe," Callahan replied calmly, his gaze steady. "But we'll see who's left standing at the end of this." Talrek's laughter was cold and mocking. "Your bravado is admirable but foolish. Surrender now, and perhaps we'll allow you to retreat. Go back to Earth and warn your people just how outmatched they truly are." Callahan's smile widened. "Thanks, but no thanks." With a curt nod, he ended the transmission. The bridge fell silent, every crew member tense with anticipation, waiting for their captain's next command. Callahan took a slow, steadying breath, letting the gravity of the situation settle over him. "Launch the missile barrage," he ordered, his voice calm yet firm. "Target their largest ships. Let's show them what primitive can do." Deep within the Iron Resolve, in a cramped briefing room, Sergeant Eric Walker's squad listened intently as he outlined the mission's objectives. The squad was an elite boarding unit, trained specifically for close-quarters combat in hostile environments. Each member had fought with Walker in numerous engagements, and though their equipment was considered basic by galactic standards, they wielded it with deadly precision. Walker was a tall, rugged man with piercing eyes that could unnerve even seasoned soldiers. His rifle, a projectile-based weapon with armor-piercing rounds, was worn and scarred, a testament to the battles he had endured. Around him, his squad checked their own weapons, shotguns, submachine guns, handguns, all designed to pierce alien armor and energy shields. "All right, listen up." Walker's voice cut through the tense silence. "We're about to board the Zyrexian flagship. They'll expect easy targets, soldiers who can't handle close-quarters combat. Let's prove them wrong. Stick together, no wasted shots, and no hesitation." Thomas, the team's sharp-eyed marksman, checked his rifle with a grin. "Think they'll know what hit them, Sarge?" Walker smirked. "Not a chance. The second we open fire, they'll be scrambling to figure out what's happening." Diego, the demolitions expert, raised his hand with a playful grin. "What's the plan if they try to lock us in?" Walker's expression didn't waver. "We don't stop moving. They're not used to soldiers who fight up close and personal. Keep that in mind." With their gear locked and loaded, the team moved to the deployment pods, their steps echoing against the metallic walls. Their pod was small but heavily reinforced, designed to withstand the rigors of a high-velocity boarding maneuver. As they strapped in, the pod's walls seemed to close around them, sealing them into their mission. The Iron Resolve shook as it unleashed its barrage, hammering the Zyrexian line with waves of missiles and cannon fire. The human ships wove through incoming blasts with agility, their pilots pushing each vessel to the limit. In the midst of this chaotic ballet of fire and metal, the deployment pods launched, small and agile, darting through the Zyrexian defenses toward their target. Walker's heart pounded as the pod hurtled through space, evading energy blasts and plasma flares. Through the small viewport, he could see the Zyrexian flagship looming ahead, its sleek surface marred by flashes of explosions from the Iron Resolve's relentless assault. The pod shuddered as it connected with the Zyrexian hull, and reinforced drills tore through the alien alloy, creating an entryway. The doors hissed open, and Walker's team leapt out, weapons at the ready. They found themselves in a dimly lit corridor, the walls lined with strange, luminescent glyphs that pulsed with an eerie glow. Zyrexian soldiers rushed to meet them, energy weapons drawn, their faces displaying a mixture of surprise and confusion. Without missing a beat, Walker's team opened fire. Bullets tore through Zyrexian armor, bypassing their energy shields with brutal efficiency. The alien soldiers fell in quick succession, their bodies crumpling to the floor in a twisted pile of limbs and armor. In the midst of the chaos, one Zyrexian officer managed to fire a shot that glanced off Walker's armor, leaving a searing burn across his shoulder. Ignoring the pain, Walker fired back, his bullet punching through the officer's chest plate, the force sending him sprawling to the ground. "Move up," Walker barked, leading his team down the corridor. The Zyrexians tried to regroup, but Walker's squad was relentless, their shots precise, their movements coordinated. The The sound of gunfire echoed through the halls, punctuated by the screams of fallen soldiers and the clatter of spent shells hitting the floor. With each step they took deeper into the flagship, Walker felt the weight of their mission pressing down on him. They were a small team, fighting against overwhelming odds, their survival dependent on their skill and their determination. But as long as they had their weapons, their training, and each other, they were unstoppable. For the humans, it wasn't just a battle, it was a testament to their resolve, their grit, and the power of unyielding determination. And as they carved a path through the heart of the enemy's flagship, the Zyrexians began to realize that perhaps they had underestimated these primitive humans after all.